Hi, welcome to Enter the Bunker, where we launch you into thriving. Each week we talk about a different virtue that can be used as a building brick to build your own personal bunkers. We share personal stories, as well as tips and tricks to help you thrive instead of survive. So sit down, relax, and enter the bunker.
Welcome to Enter the Bunker for this week's Building Brick, part 1 of moderation. My name's Kelly.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we have some new mics.
Yeah, check out the new mics that we got on set.
Check it out, hear it. I'm sure you can tell a difference just by sound.
Yeah, hopefully they can hear us better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's get into the meaning.
Let's do this.
Being content with enough, using self-discipline to create balance in our lives and to keep from overdoing. Healthy stewardship of our time and resources. So doing things in small doses instead of big doses.
Do you feel like that's what it's all about?
Moderation? Yeah, I feel that's my first initial thought anyways, is moderation is, or maybe doing something. Yeah, like not yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. So I think being content with enough is one way to be is one way to be moderate, but some people don't feel comfortable with that. They feel like they should have drive to want more and things like that. But it has to do with balance, right? It's the idea that work with what you have, and then be able to be moderate in understanding that there's certain limitations to what you have in your hands to be able to make more.
Yeah.
Right? But some people just, they could go overboard. When it comes to moderation, like you say, moderation in all things is a popular quote, right? Think about how you eat, right? Like it's so easy to fill up your plate when you're at a buffet and you just go crazy, right? And you're not moderate. And what happens? You end up just overeating, and there's all kinds of bad things that come with that.
I always have a fun saying for that, but my eyes are too big for my eyes are bigger than my belly or something.
Your eyes are bigger than your belly. Yeah. That's another one. Yeah. So that's a good example of what moderation is all about. It's just being thoughtful in how we spend our time and resources. So it's certainly very important as far as a building brick goes, because if you're not moderate, then you become too unpredictable, and you become you could be overspending, you could be eating too much, you could be just with doing these kinds of things, you just end up throwing your life in disarray.
And I feel like if one of those things is going to lead to another. So say you're not moderate in the way that you eat. So now you're not going to be moderate in the way that you do stuff. And then you're not going to be I feel like it's just like a snowball effect almost.
It becomes a behavior.
Yeah.
And then it just happens in everything. Yeah. So moderation is an important building brick for making sure that you work with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's go over some quotes here.
Cool.
So we have 4 quotes. The first one is, moderation is the secret of survival. Mainly Hall, author, lecturer, astrologer. Second quote is, if one oversteps the bounds moderation, the greatest pleasures cease to please. Epictetus, Greek philosopher. Quote 3, never go to excess, but let moderation be your guide. Cicero, Roman statesman, lawyer, scholar.
Cicero.
And finally, the 4th quote, wisdom lies in moderation, in balance. Amish Tripathi, Indian author.
So which one of those is your favorite?
Oh, I don't know. I guess if one oversteps the bounds moderation, the greatest pleasure cease to please. I'm not sure why I like that one. Probably because it's at the end, it says cease to please and it rhymes. But other than that, I just feel like, I don't know, it speaks to me.
Yeah, I think that's the better one of the bunch myself.
Yeah.
If one oversteps the bounds of moderation, the greatest pleasures cease to please. So you can think about, overeating and things like that as a good example, right?
Yeah.
You can, I love honey.
Yeah.
Right. But what happens if I end up sitting there and just keep eating a jar?
Could you eat a jar of honey like that
You
with a
can't.
spoon?
You'll get sick. You'll end up getting sick. And what happens after, like, the first spoonful, it's like, oh, this is so great. And then you
Yeah.
have another, then you have another, and eventually you're like, bleh,
Yeah.
right? And then you're just like, enough, right? And that's when it ceases to please, right? And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, but that's just the way it is when it comes to food. And so I think when I hear that quote, that's what I think of is just trying to eat that jar of honey and you just can't.
Right. I kind of think my head doesn't go to any specific story or anything, but it kind of, I think of it as like if one oversteps the bounds of moderation. So say your life's just going crazy, nothing's ever gonna please you. You're always gonna be, I don't know, clustered.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yep, that's a good example.
Yeah. Okay, so the opening. Everything in moderation is a very common quote. In fact, it is so common that when looking up the quotes we just read, it was attributed to no less than 5 different people.
Wow.
What does that mean?
It means 5 different people.
Have said that quote?
They think that's the source of the quote. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was like 5 different people thought that was their quote. Okay, anyways. But what does it mean? In a world where excess seems to be celebrated, the idea of moderation is often overlooked. Just look at your Instagram feed to see what I mean about excess. The key to moderation is to only look inward. Stop comparing yourself to others and stop trying to live for the approval of others. Strive only for what is necessary and be content and happy with enough. It can be a hard virtue to uphold, but it will lead to more balance and happiness in your life. There's a lot to see and do and learn and experience. Only moderation will allow you to do all of it. So, like, can you give me an example of like moderation besides just food? I'm thinking like more like work. Think of work.
Work.
Yeah. Because I compare a lot to work. So I'm wondering.
Well, there's no moderation at work. You should work all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay, moderation at work. For example, let's say that when it comes to work, every single day you end up not taking a lunch.
Right.
For example, right? Because you want to work through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not moderation, right? You're the type of person who just keeps on working through the day, doesn't take any breaks. That's not moderation. Right?
Okay.
So it's important to allow yourself, or for example, you sit at a desk job,
Yeah.
and you just don't even get up all day because you're work.
Yeah.
That's not moderation,
Right.
right? So to be moderate is to be mindful of what your limits are,
Mm-hmm.
and then also know when it's enough. Like to say, like for example, I think that there's a certain, I forget what the scientific thing is, that you should be getting up like every hour, if not a little less,
Really?
from your desk to stretch or do or to walk around.
I feel
or
like
something
I learned
that.
about this not too long ago. I
Yeah.
forget what it was though.
There's even apps out there that will like monitor your desk time and all this kind of stuff, or your screen time, and
No,
you're
thank you.
supposed to. Yeah, and I've actually tried. I think I tried one of those one time, and it wasn't for me. I mean, you're in the middle of things, and sometimes you just all of a sudden you got to get up.
Yeah.
That's going to be disruptive.
Yeah,
right?
no thanks.
So-
when we all know it takes like 21 minutes average to get back on track.
There's 20. Yeah, when you're interrupted,
Yeah.
then it'll take 21 minutes for you to get back to where you were.
So
after.
really in the end, that's not being very moderate of you because you just stopped what you were doing to go for a little walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that like when it comes to knowing what's enough, right? And
Right.
so when it comes to work, it's knowing that every few when you finish a task, maybe you should be thinking about, okay, maybe I should get up now, rather than okay, what's next?
Right. I think I know for me personally, it doesn't necessarily go by like my work day. It goes by the whole day. So like I could come into work someday and I'm like, okay, today is gonna be a day where I'm gonna slam stuff out. I'm not gonna hardly take any breaks. Like I'm gonna be like do. But tomorrow maybe I'll take an extra 15 minutes and take like a little walk.
Right.
Take an extra 15 minutes on my break because I was so busy yesterday. But I needed to get it done. So I guess what I'm saying is like for me, for moderation, it doesn't have to come right then. Like it can be over a period of time as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. As long as it's there.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Because if you're not moderate, this is what it leads to.
Yes.
Burnout.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just gonna constantly be going at it, and then the next thing you know, you're gonna be burned out.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna be frustrated, and suddenly what you thought you loved about your work, suddenly turns into something you hate.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is why moderation is so important when it comes to work.
Yeah.
Just again, it's like I go back to honey.
Yeah.
It's just like just too many spoonfuls, and then it's like, bleh.
Yeah. It's
Too
so
much
true.
work,
Yeah.
right?
Alrighty. So join us for part 2, where we'll discuss some tips on how to help with your life with more moderation.
We'll see you then.
Part 2.
Thank you for listening to Enter the Bunker. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, where you can share your story and also look at behind the scenes of how we make our podcast. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube by simply searching Enter the Bunker. Tune in next time as we launch into thriving.